welcome to the grand final edition of the SuperCoach Paige show. I'm Paige.
I'm Matt.
I'm Damon.
And this is the final episode of the year. I actually cannot believe that we've done 23 episodes and it's the end of the year.
Hold up. What? Can we say our names again? What's your name?
Your name?
Paige?
Matt.
Damon. Oh my god!
Oh shit.
He's just getting it.
This entire time.
The demon.
Very good.
For those people that didn't know.
Well,
It was a big week for scoring.
It was
Very
a
big.
massive week for scoring.
For some of us.
Yeah, for some of us it definitely was.
I don't know how you guys scored that.
What did you get?
Provided I did have a 0, thanks to Heppel and Hartland both stuffed me over. Got a score of 2-1-4-1.
You?
2-4-40.
2-4-48.
You've been about 8 points.
I'm the king.
Damn it.
I think my
Again,
score was
yes.
supposed to be 2-4-1-1. I think
Oh,
just
right.
mixed it up.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, Damon officially takes out the crown of worst coach in the history of
And
SuperCoach.
we need to make
Just
it
one
known
second.
that you started the year, you were out of the blocks early. I started the first 2 weeks.
It was 3, wasn't it?
First 3 weeks, I was the worst scorer.
Oh, well, from memory, I think it was in the top 100, I think, in the first couple of rounds,
Yeah.
and then it just fell away. I think that was probably due to the fact that I was trade hungry.
Yes, you
It
were.
was so tasty.
Yeah.
It was so tasty. And yeah, it just fell away from there.
Well, look, apart from the fact that we've had a massive week, I'm through to a grand final. Are
I'm
you?
through to a grand final.
And you?
I got knocked out in the prelim.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not
So now I can just-
Well, you and I, grand final week for us. We're going to
Yep.
go on our grand final parade this week. That's going to be exciting.
Awesome.
Wave for fans. It's going to be great.
Yeah, Damon came his Mad Monday.
Yeah,
It's all going to be good.
sorry to start.
But look, we have to get into the very first segment, and we are finishing off the All-Australian team, which wraps up this evening in the final episode, and that is our forwards.
Yep, and the criteria for that one was 13 scores of 80 plus, 100 of 100 plus, 5 of 120 plus, within at least 15 games played. So there were a few that were doing it, but some did it better than others. And number 1, Steve Johnson, who's been absolutely sensational.
Lockety-lock.
He's getting midfield numbers playing in the forward line. 13 scores of 80 plus, 11 of 100 plus, 8 of 120 plus, and that was for 15 games. So he just reached the cutoff, and that's just because of the suspensions that he always got. But when he's on the park, sensational. And Tom Rockcliffe is number 2, probably the most consistent throughout the year. 17 scores of 80 plus, 12 of 100 plus, 7 of 120 plus, and 20 games played. So he only missed 1 game before his bye, I believe. So there wasn't like an extended period that he was out, and you weren't having to trade just for the one.
And even he went through that period where we thought that he was that close to being cut.
Yeah.
And
He's been a gun in the
Yeah.
finals, an absolute gun. 150 something on
Yeah.
the weekend. I think, well, it was 150 or 130 something. Anyway,
massive
high
scoring
numbers,
analyst,
high
yeah.
numbers, yeah.
And another player which you would know of quite intimately, Joyce, is Dustin Martin. He's had his problems over the years with his consistency, and he's stepped it up this year. He's had 17 80 plus games, 12 100 plus games, 7 120 games,
Yep.
and all from 21 games. So I was pleased to
Played
see.
every single game.
It's pleasing to see. He's pretty good. He's upped his numbers and has been pretty reliable.
130 something on the weekend as well.
It was, yeah, he did quite well. And another player was Andrew Walker. He's made the grade.
Your boy.
My boy. He's only missed 1 game, which was last week, late withdrawal. He's had 17 80 plus games, 10 100 plus games, 6 120 plus games, and of course he played the 20 games. So he stepped it up this season, and he's been played up forward, I think, at the start of the season, and he's been a bit of an accumulator and loves to mark and kick, which is always great. And he's stepped it up.
And to finish off on field, we've got obviously Jimmy Bartel. He's going to be one of the most loved boys in this competition. Made the move as a DPP player this year as a forward, and he's definitely rallied to that position because he's been a massive scorer. 18 games of 80 plus. He's had 12 games of 100 plus, just the 4 games of 120 plus. But that's from 20 games this year, so he's been a super consistent scorer.
Yep.
Hasn't really gone big on too many occasions, but you can just lock him in as a good, solid, honest earner for your side.
Yep.
And to finish off on field, we've got North Melbourne's Drew Petrie.
Bit of a smoky there.
Yeah, definitely sort of came out of left field there, but 16 scores of 80 plus this year, which is massive. 10 games of 100 plus, and here's what I love, 7 games of 120 plus scoring.
Very
So,
good.
and he's played every game this year, and North will be pretty happy with his return. But We move on to the bench. A couple of players who've gotten here, which are probably a bit stiff not to be on the field. We kick things off with Hawthorn's very own Jared Ruffhead, who's probably this close to the Coleman now. 16 games of 80 plus, 10 games of 100 plus, 4 games of 120 plus, and 21 games played this year, and he's relished that role coming back this season to play as a ruck forward, especially after those Achilles injuries, so that's a big tick there. And the evergreen Nick Rewalt.
Love him.
He will not go away. 18 games of 80 plus, 8 games of 100 plus, and he's had 5 games of scores of 120 and over. That's from 20 games played this year, and considering his age and how long he's been around for now, he's probably had a season that probably is in line with his 2010-ish form.
Sensational. So let's just run through the entire team. Start with the defenders.
Yes, well, before we get to that, the others missing out, of course, Brent Harvey and Lance Buddy Franklin.
Yeah, so Harvey had that suspension at the start of the year that really ruined his chances, but he's been very good since playing, and Lance Franklin has been up and down all year, so you can either get a 50 or 100 and something.
Very consistent. He's become more of a flanker these days than really the power forward he has been.
Yeah.
And getting into the defenders, kicking off is Brendan Goddard. Now he's one, of course, I think most people would have had. And of course he's made the grade. Heath Shaw. Have you had Heath Shaw?
I've had Shaw.
I do have him. Yeah. I don't like him though.
He's been. You take the good and the bad with Heath Shaw. That's what we learn, and we know what he's capable of when he goes bonkers. But on the flip side, when he starts pointing and giving away free kicks, it's a dirty night. You can basically count him down for a score of 50.
I've sworn never to get him again. After 2 seasons ago, he stuffed me over, and never going to touch him again. But it's good to see that he's actually made the team. Another player is the old Fern at Geelong, Corey Enright. Don't think many people would have had him, but he's been very, very
consistent. Did you have him, did you?
Oh, like the past month I have.
Oh, okay. You didn't tell me that.
Yeah,
I keep secrets from you. This is how I beat you by 8 points.
And beat me by 300.
Yeah.
But he's been very consistent, and not so surprising, I guess, to see him in there. One surprise, I think, for me anyway, is Harry Taylor.
Yep.
He's been doing quite well, playing as a defender and a forward for Geelong, and been racking up the scores.
Yep.
Pierce Hanley, most people would have gone him during the year.
He was big. Now, we did going back to pre-season, we spoke very heavily about Pierce Hanley in a couple of articles. And we were told on very good authority from some people up in Brisbane that he was going to boom this year, and they were spot on the money.
Yep.
And the people that took the advice, I wasn't ballsy enough to do so, but you would be absolutely all over that. He had a massive year.
Yeah, if you listened, you would have known.
If you listened.
And to round off the last spot on the field was Scott Thompson for North. I think he made the grade last year as well. He's been very consistent, very reliable, and he might be one to look at definitely next year, along with Goddard in the same sort of class. And on the bench, we've got Michael Hibbert and Dyson Heppel.
Yep, so he ruined you on the weekend.
So yes, he stuffed me up.
Bit unfortunate. And the mids page.
Now, the midfielders, a couple of names straight off the top of the bat here. Collingwood's very own Scott Pendlebury and Dane Swan. Now, a lot of people started the year off and went one or the other. Some very good coaches went with both. I went with Swanee to begin with and was ruining that a little bit early on, but nonetheless, 2 very worthy inclusions. Joel Selwood, now his first half of the year was pretty ordinary, to say the best. Was struggling, really inconsistent scoring, but it's after the bye, he's just gone on an absolute rampage, and obviously now he's probably thereabouts in the Brownlow count, so just shows how much of a strong year he's had, a bit like Koch coming home strong last year. So Joel Selwood's there as well. Now, Ryan Griffin, ultra reliable, never gets the, the selections in SuperCoach that he really deserves, but he's always such a good quality player. Kieran Jack had a tremendous run home last year. Probably his last 6 weeks last year, he really came home strong, and this year he's just underpinned himself as a genuine premium. Now, of course, a few left of centre players who fit the criteria ended up being still side bottom. Now, not a lot of people would have seen that. He had a fantastic year, massive scoring, massively consistent, hasn't missed a game.
Yep.
And St Kilda's Lee Montagna, who was phenomenal this year. massive point of difference player. He's gone back to his best of 3 or 4 years ago. On the bench, Joe Watson and Patrick Dangerfield, they both look like they'd be on field early on, but injuries throughout the year and I guess a lapse in form have really cost them here, but they just scrape in over the line.
Yep. And for the rucks, we've got my man, Will Minson. I'm going to call him my man because ever since I got him, he's been going great.
The milkman.
The milkman, yep. And the other one is Todd Goldstein, who has been very reliable as well.
Definitely. And
finds himself on the field ahead of Dean Cox and Lundberg. Now, Cox has been one that everyone's had in previous seasons, and he's tapered off a little bit. Not quite as good as what he used to be. And Lundberger as well came back from injury quite quickly and has been very, very good.
Don't know if I'll have Cox next year, but with the forwards, we already just mentioned them. Run through them again. Steve Johnson, Tom Rockcliffe, Dustin Martin, Andrew Walker, Drew Petrie and Jimmy Bartell, all super reliable. You wouldn't have picked Petrie at the start of the year though. And Nick Rewald and Jared Ruffhead on the bench, which they've been so reliable over so many years. And best overall would have to be Scott Pendlebury, captain of the team.
He takes our captaincy. He's been the number 1 scorer in SuperCoach this year. Fantastic scoring by him, but you know, Ablett fell away too.
Yeah, but Ablett is the vice captain.
He is.
A few horrible scores over the past month, but certainly still gets the spot there.
Exactly. Now we're getting into what I've been looking forward to all season, and it is the SCP Award Night. And look, on this, I know we should be like
call it shirts or
something. I don't know, maybe get the Brownlow carpet in or something like that. But this is a great opportunity now, and we put it out to the fans to have their vote and get involved. And we've come up with some very interesting, to say the least, awards to hand out to some SuperCoach relevant players.
Especially the first one, that's the most interesting.
Exactly. Now I used this early on in the year, and I said I probably shouldn't use it again because it's probably a little bit borderline, but it's making a comeback. And to kick things off, the very first award of the year, it is the Tampon Award for the player who is in for 1 and out for 3 and just cannot be trusted. It goes to, well, we've got a tie. That's a good one.
3-way tie.
3-way tie. Nick Nui, Cyril Rioli and Daisy Thomas. You screwed us with the injuries. You were in, then you were out, then you were in again. You're so unreliable. Congratulations, you all share the award of the tampon.
I don't think they would like to receive the actual award for that. I can only imagine.
We'll send them like
we
a
just ate. Come on. Number 2.
Number 2. It is the Hulk Award. Don't get me angry. Now look, for the person who was reported almost too much by the MRP, it goes to, well, unanimous. Stevie J, he wins that award hands down. Suspended more often than we care to like, but nonetheless was a great scorer all year. Now, the Ayers Rock. The Ayers Rock Award goes to the best defender who was an absolute rock in defence all year, that could be trusted on every occasion and always delivered.
It was unanimous.
Brendan Goddard from the Bombers has had a sensational year playing in the midfield and just looks absolutely at home there in the Bombers midfield there.
Do you think he'll keep his dual position next year?
I would probably say he won't, which is a sad thing because since SuperCoach has started, we've had the luxury of having BJ as a defender midfielder, and that looks like it's about over.
Yep.
Same with Lids last year. It's a new era. It's crazy.
Sad.
It's all happening. Number 4 award is the Sniper Award, and this goes to the player, the forward, who was deemed to be the best sharpshooter.
Oh, so not Matthew Lloyd in that Hawthorn game.
No Campbell Brown. Now, that winner, also a 3-way tie here. Nick Rewald, Jared Ruffhead and Stevie J all share honours in that prestigious award.
So prestigious.
Yeah. Now, one of my favourites as well, the Mount Hotham Award. This goes to the best downhill skier, the player who racks up a lot of ball against the lesser teams. It's Dane Swan.
Yeah.
Dane Swan goes AWOL on the lesser teams, and it's fantastic to watch. He has been superb as that player, but we also throw in Stevie J. It comes as no surprise. Stevie J loves to beat up on the lesser side, so to speak. And I guess with those games against Melbourne and and the like this year, he really feasted on the dead carcass, really.
Yep.
Now, the MIA award, missing in action. Now, this is quite funny because considering these players had a fantastic 2012 season, they have gone nowhere near that in 2013. It's been awful for them. We've got a couple of players who are joined in this award, and they were well backed by the followers on SCP. They start with Sam Jacobs.
Not good enough.
Terrible year in the ruck. He absolutely just, I haven't got words for it. Luckily I didn't have him, but for the people who did, you'd be knowing exactly how that felt.
Yep.
Now another one, Dane Zorko. Now I started the year with Zorko.
Me too.
And it screwed me, and I should have started with Rocky instead. And I went with Zorko. Bad move.
Yep.
Bad move. Next one as well is Toby Green from GWS, which is I think a little bit harsh because he is in his second year.
Yep.
He's copped the second year blues like nobody's business, but adding to him as well, JPK. You can't go from being all Australian, 150 plus elite scorer to rubbish.
It's Tom Mitchell. That's what's done it.
Do you know what? The spread of Sydney's midfielders now mean JPK is not the Lone Ranger when it comes to scoring.
Based on last year, I thought when I was constructing my team at the start of the year, I was looking at JPK and I had him right next to Dane Swan. That's how high I had him. And
yeah, me too.
It's quite disappointing to see.
Well, I started the year with him too. So at the start of the year when he kicked off with 163, I was vindicated, but not to be. And the last award for me that I'm announcing tonight is the Bank. Now, the Bank Award is for the player who got you lots of moolah. And that player, it goes to, there's a tie here as well, Dean Turlick and Tom Mitchell.
Fantastic about that. Especially on those bye rounds when Tom Mitchell made his debut. It really helped a lot of people that had just traded people out. And, big money.
Yeah. And kicking off the awards that I'm announcing tonight, first one is Rookie of the Year, which of course is for the best first-year player and not relevant to age, and must have debuted in 2013. And I think we can all guess who that is. Jaeger O'Meara. He's been an absolute gun. Should romp him for the Rising Star this year, and I think quite a few people have still kept him as well, which is not so surprising because he's been quite a good scorer.
What is surprising is that he and Gary Ablett are the only players who are addressed on first name basis. Gary and Jaeger.
What about Carmichael?
Well, look, that's what it comes down to. Gary and Jaeger.
Yep.
And the next award is titled the Seagull, which is for the player who attracted a lot of easy points this season. And I thought Dane Swan would be in this category, but he's missed out.
He's the pig.
He's the pig, big fat sweaty pig. And the winner, we've actually got a three-way tie for this one. First one is Andrew Walker, Brent Stan and Heath Shaw. Now,
I'm a bit worried that Dyson Heppel is in this category because he's the biggest seagull I've ever seen. I'd probably add Brandon Ellis to that actually. I was at Skoda Stadium on the weekend and he was such a chip scab, honestly. It was hilarious.
A chip scab, I love that.
I might get him next year.
And speaking of Dane Swan, he's actually won the award for this category, which is Junkyard Dog, for the player who seemed to rack up plenty of points. So Junkyard Dog / what do we call him, the pig?
The pig.
Dane Swan, so he romps into that one. I think it's quite obvious. Then we've got the award title AK-47, which is the widely considered 2013 #1 gun of SuperCoach this season. And we've put it down as a bit of a tie, even though all it is the captain and the vice captain of our Australian.
Put your guns away.
Yep, hold your guns. We've got Scott Pendlebury and Gary Ablett. They've been massive performers this year, and only fitting that they actually share the award. Next one is the Skydive Award, which is for the player that fell massively in price this year, thanks to poor form. And we've got another tie, Lance Buddy Franklin and Josh P. Kennedy. We spoke of them.
Fitting. Yep.
Only fitting that those two share it. Then we've got Blacklisted, which is for the player who have sworn off for next year. I think quite a few would. My man. Quite a few would put these two in their category. I think quite obviously Bryce Gibbs and Sam Jacobs. Bryce Gibbs has been promising or hoping to promise so much over the years and again failed this year to deliver.
I don't think he's going to keep his dual position status. I think he's going to be a mid or something like that, just a pure mid, because he hasn't played with the back line enough for mine. They're trying to make him a one-on-one defender lately, but I don't know, too inconsistent for mine.
Yeah, I don't know. I reckon there's hope that he could stay as a defender. I was hoping for him to play more time in midfield this season, and Mick hasn't really.
Mick said that in the pre-season. He said that Gibbs would be released into the midfield and would be allowed to reach his full potential, but he's just he's an annoyance.
Yeah.
It just kills me. The thing is, next year is we'll all get sucked into starting with him again because we'll hear the same promises, the same pre-season form, and we know what he's capable of when he goes big.
Yeah.
Or it'll be the opposite, and we won't get him, and you'll end up smashing it.
Exactly. We lose either way.
And the next category is Titan Millionaires, which is the AFL team who had the most Supercoach relevant players in their team, which the winner was Collingwood and Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Both had a bevy of players that were awesome.
Definitely. Especially Collingwood with even the rookies, they had a lot of them. Kyle Martin, Sam Dwyer, Ben
and
Kennedy.
Brody Grundy.
Yeah,
Kennedy was well backed as well, so.
Yeah, definitely. Now I'm going to zip through mine. Breakout player of the year has gone from mid-price into a premium. Got to be Chan Widgard. He's been absolutely fantastic.
Solid.
Bonafide gun. How did GWS pass up on him? Catch me if you can. The best dual position player would have to be Steve Johnson as a forward mid and Jared Ruffhead as a ruck forward.
Yeah, loved him.
Probably add Goddard onto that as well as a mid defender. And lock it in, Eddie, the new age premium player who must be selected. Travis Boak has had a sensational year.
He's come home super strong.
Yeah, Jack Stephen, St Kilda's midfield is going to be built around him.
Yep.
Tom Liberatore, absolute revelation.
Machine.
Yeah, absolute machine.
There's daylight between him and the next best clearance player.
And the constant tease, the player that threatens to go to the next level but he doesn't. Mike Murphy is an absolute tease. And Michael Barlow, I think it's a bit harsh.
Well, you look at Barlow, he racks up so much ball and he just promises to come out with these massive scores. He can't get over that 110.
Yeah, I'll take that though. Like, you want a 110 average, and I think that's fine.
I just feel as though when you've got 8 premiums, you want them to at least be able to be capable of having a big ceiling.
Yeah.
You can probably add the entire Carlton Football Club into that last one.
Yes, I would say that's a good call.
And the best unique is Travis Boak again.
Yeah.
Nobody, well, some people would have picked him, but not too many at the start of the year. And one last category, the bicentennial men. Who are the best players to come back from a long-term injury. That'd have to be Leuenberger and Josh J. Kennedy. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
They were in the 200s at the start of the year, starting off price-wise, so you'd be stupid not to get on him, and I'm sad if you didn't. So that wraps up the awards.
And captain choices are always important, but none more so than this week, grand final week, and kicking it off on Friday night is Josh P. Kennedy against Hawthorn at ANZ Stadium. Now he dominates Hawthorn, I think. Although he's only scored 100 plus score in the last 5 weeks.
When Tom Mitchell wasn't playing.
Yes, exactly right.
Blame Tom Mitchell.
I will.
Yeah, and he did have 143 points from 30 disposals and 2 goals on them in round 7, and scored 173 and 126 on them in 2012. So
no Tom Mitchell then.
Yeah, that was no Tom Mitchell. So
Good
if
form.
he plays, then you'd probably
He
say
loves to
look
play his
elsewhere.
outside though.
He does. He does like to play them, but would you?
No.
No, I wouldn't
well,
waste.
I don't use the loophole bullshit.
I'm not
so.
gonna.
Who's in the grand final team?
I'm not going to use my loophole Friday night. I'm using it Saturday.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
Strategic this week for me.
And next one is Sammy Mitchell comes up against the Swans. He's only averaged 73 against the Swans in his last 3 games and has only posted 97, 95 in his last 2 games this year. So he hasn't really come home strong as what we thought he would.
I've got 1 trade left. I might get rid of him and get someone else. Just
That's a fair trade.
crap scoring.
Yeah.
Moving on to Saturday's games, were you using your crappy loophole?
Well, up yours. Anyway, now for the loophole option, I'm strongly in favour this week. Not even bothering with Friday night teams, but looking at Saturday to use the VC. Now, the Cats this week are at home again at Simmons Stadium. Fantastic for grand final. Joel Selwood. Now, I have to read this out. This is incredible. So he's projected to score 140 with SuperCoach Gold this week. He's averaging 145 in his last 3 games this year with previous scores of 131, 144 and 160. He loves playing at Simmons Stadium. He's scored 131, 160, 151 and 133 in his last 4 games there this year. Massive numbers. He's had 135 on the Lions in round 13 and also had 114 on them in 2012, despite having 18 disposal, which is still pretty good. Andrew Rains went to him with a tag, but he was still pretty productive thereabouts. Now, Rains will probably go to him again this week, but I cannot see anybody getting in the way of Selwood this round. He is just in too good of a form.
Rains is a good tagger, but one-on-one defensively, because Selwood's drifted forward a lot.
Yep.
I don't rate Rains as one-on-one as a defender.
When Selwood goes forward, that is where he will really hurt him. And Selwood does everything around the stoppages and all that sort of stuff. But when he pushes forward, Rains will he'll roll over.
Yeah.
Now, another one on Saturday, if you haven't got Joel Selwood, or you're thinking you might want to roll the dice for someone else for a bit of point difference to get a leg up on your opponent, you really can't look past Stevie J this week. He's had 113 in his past 3 games this year and had 134 last week. He's in good form. He loves playing at Simmons. 134 and 120 and 143 in his last couple of games. And had 120 on Brisbane earlier in the year, so very good form to take in. But out of those 2, I am VCing Selwood this week.
You've got it.
Wise choice.
Yeah.
Do you think Brisbane can beat him?
Well, Geelong have the best ever home ground advantage ever in the
44
in the VFL,
46,
AFL history. Yes, exactly. So
ridiculous.
it's the hardest road trip to take down there, and forget about playing any team in WA. You cannot beat Geelong at the Cattery.
Yeah. Now moving on to Sunday, for us plebs that don't use the loophole, Scott Pendlebury versus the Kangaroos.
I think he doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
I reckon that's what it is.
Is that why
I reckon he doesn't know how to.
Is that why
he doesn't know how to use it?
I did it once. I felt dirty. I didn't want to do it again. Pendles has 114 and 110 over the last 2 weeks. Scored a big 160 off 30 disposals, 5 marks and 5 tackles against the Kangas back in round 1. So it's not in the greatest form right now, but history shows that they've certainly got the capabilities there. The Kangas will have a lot to play for though, so they'll go really hard.
There's going to be big points scored in this game.
And Ryan Griffin as the second option, not too great form in his past 2 games, 105 and it's 78. But he did have 148 points against Melbourne earlier this year, who they're playing again this round. So yeah, who knows? I mean, Mackenzie's been a really good tagger this year, probably one of the few good players for Melbourne. And in the games that he's gone to Griffin, he's only got 77 and 144. So who knows? I'd probably stick with Selwood just as the pure captain option. But right now, going back to junk time, we're just going to go through a few predictions before the end of the year, because who knows what's going to happen? This is our opinion. Premiers, for mine, it's going to be Freo.
Hawthorn.
Yeah, Hawthorn for me.
Runners-up for me is going to be Hawthorn, so they'll make the grand final.
I'm going Geelong.
I'm going Sydney. It's going to be a bit of a reversal from last year.
My Norm Smith will be Nat Fyfe. I can just see him impacting a big game like that.
I'm going the big finals time player and Jordan Lewis.
Ooh. I'm going Sammy Mitchell.
Very good. Finals X Factor, Michael Walters. Sensational this year.
Yeah, finals X Factor for me is definitely going to be Stevie Motlop, but not in the grand final terms, but Brodie Grundy's can be a bit of an X factor for Collingwood in the early finals.
Yeah, when they get knocked out first round.
You're funny.
And I couldn't decide between Joel Selwood or Stevie J, both from the Cats, impact players, and Selwood's in awesome form.
Well, I can decide on Joel Selwood as my Brownlow choice. That's done for me.
Yeah, I'm still leaning towards Gary Ablett, considering how big he's been in the first half of the year. I don't think Selwood's going to chase him and make up that amount of votes, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him win. I've still got Selwood.
I've got Selwood listed down. I think he actually can chase down Gary Ablett, but I think they're neck and neck at this stage, and if one can poll this weekend and the other one doesn't, then that'll decide the winner, but I'll put down Joel Selwood. And
smoking for it, not many people are talking about Scott Pendlebury, who's mine. He's had a really consistent year all year, probably one of the best players in the league, so He's my smoky.
Yeah, I've got a smoke between Swanee and Pendlebury. No bias. I just think they've had very good years.
Yeah, I've got Pendles as well. He probably underpolled last year, I reckon. Probably should have polled more. If you can get more votes off Swan, then yeah, definitely a chance.
Who's going to coach Melbourne? Can't go past Rodney Eade for mine. They obviously need an experienced coach, and there's none better out there.
Yep, I think Rocket's going to definitely find his way to Melbourne too.
Yep, exactly the same. Rocket Eade's going to coach him.
Paul Roos to coach Brisbane for mine.
Yep, I love it. Fairy tale. Get the old Roy boy back there, especially if Lee Matthews takes over the helm.
Yeah, I've put down Ruse, probably based upon, couldn't think of anyone else that could really take over the role.
No.
Waiting in the
No.
wings.
I
No.
don't know, would you throw in Chopo Williams or someone like that?
He would go to Melbourne if anything,
Yep.
in my opinion. Where will Buddy be next year? GWS for mine.
Yeah, more like GWS.
Yep, money talks, GWS.
Where will Dale Thomas play in 2014? Collingwood.
I hope Collingwood, but it wouldn't surprise me to see him go. But with the ankle injuries, I think more than a few teams will be very wary of
Where would he
him.
go though?
Where, if anywhere, it'd only Carlton.
I reckon he's going to stay at Collingwood. Before he injured his ankle, I would have said maybe he would have gone to somewhere like Carlton. Would have been a bit of a fairy tale reuniting with Mick, but I reckon he'll stay at the Pies.
And the biggest move for trade week and free agency, there's a lot of ones out there, but I think Jack Watts going to Carlton will be the number one ticket.
Yeah, that is mine as well. Jack Watts to the Blues. Otherwise, I'm going to say Jack Watts to Geelong in what would be a huge thing. Geelong are very interested. Would not surprise me to see Watts end up at the best club in the land.
Yeah, I've well, apart from Buddy, I reckon the exact same thing. Watts to Carlton, and as a Carlton supporter, I wouldn't mind him there. He shows glimpses of why he was picked at number one. Just hopefully they don't overpay him, and he actually does show some signs.
Well, he'd definitely be a help to guys like Jamison and Henderson and Casbolt, especially as a forward defender.
Yeah, I would love him to come and play as a forward.
And speaking of Carlton, I can see Betts leaving as well. Rumours about Adelaide, so that'd be quite interesting to see. All-Australian captain, he's been bad this past month, but you can't go past Ablett. He's so good.
Yeah, Gary Ablett,
Yep, Gaza.
And All-Australian Smokey, I'm going to go Richmond Pride for this one. Steve Morris has been the best lockdown defender all year. It's a travesty if he doesn't make the squad. I think he might not make the team just because they prefer the rebounding defenders. Corey Enright's had another great year, for example, and Pierce Hanley and Hibbert and all those sorts of players, but he's been sensational.
Making the initial 42 squad, I'm going for probably Dan Hanbury here. I think his form this year's been very, very, very good, and I reckon he'll find himself in that team.
Yeah, he was in Brownlow form early on as well, so wouldn't surprise. I've gone with a massive smoky. He's going to win the Rising Star, Jaeger O'Meara. I think there might be the only thing going against him. He's got too much competition from mid spot, even a bench spot. But he's one that came to mind.
You could even throw him, maybe not a smoky as such because he's been that good this year. Jeremy Cameron as well. If he doesn't make it, I'll be probably a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Speaking of Carlton, we're going on about them a lot. How many people do you think they're going to delist and move at the end of the year? I say 8, and that's just a ballpark. I just thought of it.
9.
And you actually did your research.
I actually went through the team list, and this is what I've got. Delist, we've got Aaron Joseph, Andy Collins, Fraser Dale, Marcus Davies, and Reece O'Keefe. I think they'll all go. And trade, Yaron. I think he's on the trade table. If you get something for him, definitely get rid of him. Diagon, Laidler, I'd love to keep one of those, but I reckon one will go, if not both. And Sean Hampson.
Any retirements there?
Retirements?
No.
No, there's none.
And headlines that we'll read. You start us off, Damon.
Yes, mine concerns Carlton, of course. Bit of comedy. Mick demands pay rise, Carlton job harder than first thought.
Yours, Paige?
Yeah, I'm going to bring out a bit of Collingwood bias for the last time this year. Collingwood win flag, Buckley vindicated.
Mine will read Cochin and Mitchell awarded 2012 Brownlow.
Oh, a bit of controversy there.
And then you wake up.
Well, guys, look, it has been an absolute pleasure to be with you guys for the SCP. The first year we've done this, and we hope that you guys at home have really enjoyed it as much as we have.
But we're not done for the year. We're doing other things in the off-season.
We are. We're starting what we're calling off-season radio. Now we're going to be speaking to plenty of under-18 players, those people that are in the AFL media. We're going to be going through list assessments, everything off season we're putting into a podcast for you, and you'll be able to download that, listen to it when you like, but it's going to be fantastic. Some big guests week one. But for now, thank you very much for tuning in to SCP Show this year. We can't wait to see you next year, and good luck in the grand final. Go Pies!
Go Tigers!